All right, and welcome back. Today we are looking at section 2 of D388. This is preparing data for analysis. Goodness, my dyslexia. Um, and this one I decided to keep just within lesson 1, just because there's a lot that it goes over. So we're going to be looking at pretty much just reorganizing this data. Let's say we gotten some data from our event marketing office, and they had inputted all of these leads into the same sheet or whatever. Anyway, somehow it populated like this. Now you can see it's kind of a mess. It's not very easy to read. It looks like it's all over the place. It's confusing. There's spaces everywhere. It's just not fun to deal with. So what we're going to do is we're going to do data parsing. We're going to separate everything into its own column. And the way that we do that is we're going to select the columns that we want to do. If you can see, I guess I should show you. If we were to double click this, it'll show you that all of this data is only in column B. We want to get that spread out between here and column J or K or however many other columns we would need. So we're just going to select all of the data, and we're going to go to the data folder, and we're going to come over to text to columns. Now what this is going to do is this is going to separate our data, and it's going to ask us if we want it to do it by the delimiter or by fixed width. And you can see if we change it to fixed width, what it's going to do is it's going to separate these by all of the spaces. So John, Kate, and Luke are going to be in a column. Age is all going to be in the, it's all just going to be wrong. So we're going to do this by the delimiter, change it up a little bit more. And we're going to separate it by the comma that's already selected, so we don't have to worry about it. And this is how it's going to populate. This is like looking correct. That's what we want. You could go to the next slide, but it doesn't really matter. I know when in the lesson, the video that they use, I think they're using Excel Online. I'm not using Excel Online. In fact, I'm using just the actual program. Not that there's anything wrong with Excel Online. I just don't see why you would use Excel Online when you have the actual thing. So it could be that. It could just be that I have a newer version of it. You may have an Excel that looks similar to mine. You may have an Excel that looks different. Either way, the functions are still going to do the same. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish. And that is already separated out our data. It looks really good. So after this, it kind of goes into just formatting. We're looking for duplicates. We're looking for finding errors, and we're looking for spelling errors. We're looking for data that probably was entered accidentally. So we're going to go in. Another thing that we want to do too is make this look more understandable. So we've got a ton of white space in column B because it previously was expanded to see all of the information that was in column B before. Now we don't have a lot of stuff. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. There's a way that you can do it through all of the little tools up here. I don't personally know how to do that, so I'm not going to do it. In fact, I do it an easier way. On the test, they're going to want you to do something specific. They will say in the lesson that you can use just these two arrows to expand or shrink the width. You're never going to use that okay, I shouldn't say you're never going to use that. So far in the lesson quizzes and tests that they have given, they don't want you doing that. Instead, what you're going to do, what I do, is I left click on the column, go down to column width, and then I type in whatever number they want. So if I would needed to expand this to 20, we're going to say 30 because I need more room. Then that will give us an exact width, and we don't have to worry about guesswork or any of the other messy stuff. Another way that you can do this that I personally like is just going to this arrow and double clicking, and it will automatically make it so that that width fills in the words. Again, have not had to use this on a test, so you may not need to know this, but lots of different ways to do things. It always helps to know what you're looking for, and we can go through and we can do that for all of these columns as well, just to make it look more organized and so that you can see all of the data that is there. All right. After this, you just kind of want to clean it up a bit. We can go ahead and bold all of the headers. A couple of different ways that you can do this as well. You can hit Control-C on your laptop. If it's Apple, I believe it is Command-C, or you could go back to the home file and then click the little bold button right here, and it does it pretty nicely. Something else that we're going to want to do for this, I have a lot of spaces in between all of these, but well, these are all single spaced, but I have a lot of spaces. I'm seeing a lot of spaces right in the names. We're going to want to take care of that. What we'll do is we'll come up to this column where, oh, that's the wrong thing. We want to insert a column behind it. And this is the trim function that we're going to use. The trim function is just going to get rid of any extra spaces that we have. So we'll go ahead and hit an equal sign, which tells Excel that we're going to need it to do some work for us. Type in the trim function. It'll give us an open parentheses. We're going to click on the cell that we want it to trim, close that parentheses, and enter. And you can see it automatically gets rid of those extra spaces and gives us a nice little neat name. Now we want to take this function and we want to apply it to all of the other cells. You can do this one cell at a time, but depending on how large of a data set you're working with, it can be really hard. So what we're just going to do is we're going to take our little extender guy and we're going to copy that function all the way down to take care of those other names. Next after this, because we want to replace this data, we could type in a little header that says name edited, and then just go ahead and take care of that so that you can see the original data versus the edited data. But for all intents and purposes, we don't need that. So we're going to go ahead and copy all of this, and we're going to replace it over here. It is important that we are pasting with the values. So we'll kind of paste that over there. If you don't paste it with the values, as soon as you delete this column, all of this is going to disappear. And we want to keep those names. So we want to keep the values that are in there. Next, looking at age, you can see that there's Kate Anders somehow wrote down in this lead that she was 540 years old. Most likely is not 540 years old. If she is, I want to meet this woman and ask her what kind of holy grail she has found, or fountain of youth, or whatever, because I want some of that. There's a couple of different reasons why you would have some kind of data error like this. For this video, we're just going to assume that it was a typo. So you can either fix this by double-clicking the cell, or you can go up to the formula bar and just backspace that and fix it in there. We can do the same thing with this number right here. Even though it's displaying 23 as the actual number, it's spelled correctly and everything, it does not fit our data pattern. And we want it to fit the pattern because it makes it less confusing. You know, when you're in the middle of a workday, you've only got 3 brain cells left. The last thing that you want to worry about is just causing more work for your brain. So we're going to go ahead and edit that down to the numerical value or numerical format, 23. All of that data looks really good. Looking over phone numbers, all of them except this one has parentheses in it. So we're going to go ahead and add parentheses just to keep with the pattern. And that's pretty much kind of what you're looking for when it comes to, just looking for patterns. Really, all of it comes down to formatting after this. Another function that's important for you to know for the test is going to be the text split function. And what that'll do, we'll use the address for an example. Say we want to separate this between state and city. What we're going to need to do is we're going to come over here. I'm going to insert another cell. We want to insert an entire column. There we go. Ta-da! All right. I don't know why I got that one instead of the next one. Anyway, so because we're going to be using this function, what it's going to do, instead of just taking the Portland part and moving it over here, it's going to separate both of these into 2 new columns. So we're actually going to insert 2 new columns. There we go. Okay, we hit the equal sign just like everything else. We're going to do text split, and we want the cell that we're going to split. And I had to learn this a couple of different times, how this one is formatted. You get a comma, and then a space, and then a quotation mark, and then I want to get rid of the spaces that are around that bracket, or that dash, or whatever you guys call it. So we're going to hit a space, hit the bracket, space, another quotation mark, and then close the parentheses. And that is how we're going to get rid of that little section right between Maine and Portland. Hit enter, and now we have Maine and Portland. We do have a space behind Maine if I cared enough, I would use the same trim function as I would to get rid of that, and in the email section and number section and appointment set, but I don't care enough, so it's not too important. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take that function and we're going to bring it all the way down so that all of those can be separated all nice. Now, let's see. If we want to move these sets of data over, instead of copying just one cell, we're actually going to have to copy both sides of the cell. So we'll come over here, go back to home, copy, and then all of these right here, I believe we're going to have to enter in a new cell as well. That's not it. Okay. We'll get rid of that. Now we can insert another cell, come over, copy again, and then we'll come in here and we will paste. Remember, you got to paste with the values because when we delete these, then it's gonna go crazy and won't keep those values. So now we can rename these. We can rename it. We can do state and city. Then we're gonna delete these extra cells because they do nothing for us. Goodbye, cells. Thank you for your work. All right. Something else that you can do, let's see, that it goes over is spell check. You click the spell check button, it's right here. This one, it's not going to come up with any suggestions because it obviously names an email and things like that. Last time I did this, it actually did come up with one, and it was for John Marlin Mail, and it was like trying to say that it was real or no. However, just looking at this data, we do have a spelling error that did not catch, and that is NIVDA. We know that this is a state. We know that it has been spelled correctly. That's right here. If we had a larger set of data, or like this data, we could go in and edit it just like we edited these couple of numbers. But if it was a larger set of data, we would want to, we wouldn't want to go through all of that. It would take too much time, and Excel can do this for us. And the way that Excel can do this for us is we go back to home. What we're going to do is we're going to go to find and select, and then we're going to go to replace. And you can see I already had it automated because I did this another time. That video did not show what I needed it to show, so we're doing another one. What we're going to do is we're going to find that misspelled word, Nevada, and we're going to want to replace it with Nevada, and I typed all of these in. So you can see a couple of different options down here, find next, find all, and replace. Well, replace and find next just have to do with one thing, so they're only going to find the first Nevada. Find all is going to find all of them. Replace all is going to replace all of them. So if we go ahead and click replace all, Excel gives us a nice little note that says all done. We made 2 replacements, and we don't have to worry about that being an issue. So we can go ahead and close that. I think that's pretty much all of the functions that it goes over. There are a couple of different things that they go over in the lessons that are more explanatory. Some of the stuff is like common knowledge. Some of it builds on to section 2. When you talk about formatting, they want to make it a nice report. And so something else that we could do is we could center all of those. Oh, that's the wrong one. We could center our headings. We could probably do something with our title. Lots of different things to make this more ready for a meeting or anything like that. I think if there's anything else. I think really most of it's pretty straightforward. Like I said, the only thing that I had a hard time with was the text split function, and that one was super easy to figure out. I think a lot of things like this, if you can work your way through it, making mistakes, if you're already like that kind of person, then when it comes to looking at this kind of course and figuring out how these things work, then you'll be able to get it just fine without having to go back to the materials. A lot of it is trial and error. I actually built this while I was going through lesson 1 so that I could practice while I was using this. So that I could practice while I was going through all of the materials. And then when it came to taking the test, I did pretty well on it. The only thing that it did not pass was that they wanted me to trim all of the information in the column. So what I did was I did it just kind of like we did here, where I selected all of the cells. Well, not selected all the cells, but I trimmed all of the cells underneath the heading but I did not trim the heading itself. And so it was like the location had a space behind it in the heading, and I didn't get rid of that. And I was like, man, if I could go back and do that, I could have gotten them. I think I mentioned it in the last video. If I could go back, like if they give me an opportunity to figure out why the answer was wrong and correct myself, I would be all set. I'm really good at figuring out why things are the way they are and why things aren't the way they aren't. But I digress. It's not a thing, and it wouldn't be a real test if it was anyway. That's pretty much what we're looking at when it comes to this class. That was D388, Section 2, Preparing Data for Analysis. And I will see you again next time with another section in this lesson. Ciao.